The scream that tore through the September night in Wickenburg, Arizona, made every dog in town start howling. And that scream came from Olivia Jane herself, when she realized what kind of man she had promised to marry. It was 1878, and the dusty streets of this mining town held secrets that would change her life forever. Though she did not know it yet, as she stood in the general store picking out fabric for her wedding dress. The air smelled of leather and tobacco, and through the thin wooden walls, she could hear men talking in the saloon next door, their voices carrying clear as church bells on Sunday morning. Olivia pressed her hand against the rough wood, selecting a cream-colored lace that felt soft between her fingers. She was 22 years old, with dark auburn hair that fell in waves down her back and green eyes that reflected the desert landscape she had grown to love. Her father owned the largest cattle ranch outside of town, and she had been raised to be practical, strong, and independent. That independence had drawn the attention of Richard Blackthorne, a wealthy businessman from back east who had come to Arizona to invest in silver mines. He was handsome in a polished way, with slicked-back hair and expensive suits that seemed out of place among the dusty cowboys and miners who populated Wickenburg. "That one is lovely, Miss Jane," the shopkeeper said, wrapping the lace carefully. "Your wedding will be the finest this town has ever seen." Olivia smiled, though something in her chest felt tight. She had agreed to marry Richard 3 months ago, and everyone said she was making an excellent match. He was 30 years old, educated, and promised her a life of comfort. Her father approved wholeheartedly. Her mother, who had passed 2 years prior, would have been pleased. Everything was perfect on paper, yet Olivia could not shake the feeling that something was wrong. The voices from the saloon grew louder, and she recognized Richard's distinctive Eastern accent cutting through the others. She moved closer to the wall, not intentionally trying to eavesdrop, but unable to help hearing what came next. "Women are simple creatures," Richard was saying, his voice dripping with condescension. "They need a firm hand and clear direction. My fiancée is pretty enough, and her father's ranch will expand my holdings considerably. She has spirit now, but that will be broken soon enough. A woman's place is to obey, not to think." The other men laughed, and Olivia's blood turned to ice. "What about respect?" another voice asked, younger and unfamiliar. "Respect," Richard scoffed. "I respect my horse and I respect my business partners. A wife is property, pure and simple. You treat her well enough to keep her useful, but respect, that is for equals, and women will never be equal to men. My Olivia thinks she has opinions about ranch management and business. I let her talk now because it amuses me, but once we are married, she will learn her proper place quickly enough." The lace slipped from Olivia's fingers and fell to the floor. The shopkeeper looked at her with concern, but Olivia could not speak. Her entire body trembled with a mixture of rage, humiliation, and heartbreak. She had thought Richard admired her intelligence, that he valued her input on ranch matters. She had believed his compliments were genuine, that his courtship was built on mutual respect and affection. Now she understood it had all been a performance, a business transaction disguised as romance. "Miss Jane, are you well?" the shopkeeper asked, retrieving the lace. "I need air," Olivia managed, rushing toward the door. She burst out onto the wooden sidewalk and nearly collided with a tall figure standing in the shadows. Strong hands steadied her, and she looked up into the face of the man who had been speaking in the saloon, the one who had asked about respect. He was perhaps 25 years old, lean and weathered by the sun, with dark brown hair that needed cutting and honest gray eyes that held genuine concern. He wore typical cowboy attire, dusty chaps over worn denim, a faded blue shirt, and a hat he quickly removed in her presence. "Madam, I apologize," he said, his voice gentle. "I did not mean to startle you." "You were in there," Olivia said, her voice shaking. "You heard what he said." The cowboy's jaw tightened. "I did, and I wish I had not. A man who speaks that way has no business marrying anyone, let alone someone who deserves real love and respect." "You do not even know me," Olivia said, tears threatening to spill. "I know enough," he replied. "I have seen you around town, Miss Jane. Everyone knows you are kind to the ranch hands, fair in your dealings, and smarter than half the men in this territory. That man in there does not deserve you, and I would bet my last dollar he never will." Olivia stared at this stranger who spoke with such conviction. "Who are you?" "Logan Carter, madam. I work cattle drives mostly, just passing through Wickenburg on my way to California. But I could not stand by and let you walk into that marriage without knowing the truth about his character. You followed me out here to tell me this." Logan's expression was earnest, almost pained. "I left that saloon the moment I heard him talking. I could not stomach another word. Then I saw you come out looking like your world had shattered, and I knew you had heard it too. I am sorry for your pain, Miss Jane, but better you know now than after you have signed your life away to him." The saloon doors swung open, and Richard emerged with two other businessmen, all of them laughing at some shared joke. He spotted Olivia, and his face transformed into the charming mask she now recognized as false. "Olivia, darling," he called, striding toward her. "What are you doing out here? Is this cowboy bothering you?" Logan stepped back respectfully, but his eyes never left Richard's face. The contempt there was barely concealed. "He was just leaving," Olivia said, her voice steadier than she felt. She looked at Logan, and something passed between them, an understanding that needed no words. "Thank you for your assistance, Mr. Carter." "Anytime, Miss Jane," Logan said softly. He put his hat back on, tipped it to her, and walked away down the darkening street. Olivia watched him go, feeling as though something important had just walked out of her life before it had even entered properly. "You should not talk to men like that," Richard said, taking her arm possessively. "Cowboys are rough types, not suitable company for a lady of your standing." Every word out of his mouth now sounded like poison. Olivia pulled her arm free. "I need to speak with you, Richard, privately." "Of course, dear. After dinner, we can discuss whatever you like." "I need to finish my business with these gentlemen first. Why do not you go home and rest? You look tired." "No," Olivia said firmly. "Now." Richard's eyes flashed with annoyance, but he maintained his smile. "Very well. Gentlemen, excuse me a moment." He guided Olivia around the corner of the building, away from curious eyes. The moment they were alone, his expression changed entirely. The charm evaporated, replaced by cold calculation. "What is so urgent that you embarrass me in front of my associates?" "I heard you," Olivia said, lifting her chin. "In the saloon. I heard exactly what you think of me, of women in general." For a split second, genuine emotion crossed Richard's face, something like panic, but it disappeared quickly. "You were eavesdropping, how unladylike." "Besides, that was simply talk between men. You misunderstood." "I understood perfectly. You think I am property. You plan to break my spirit. You have no respect for me at all." Richard sighed as though dealing with a difficult child. "Olivia, you are being dramatic. Every man talks like that with other men. It means nothing. I chose you as my wife, did I not? That is honor enough." "Honor?" Olivia's voice rose. "You spoke of me like I am livestock you are purchasing." "Keep your voice down," Richard hissed, gripping her arm hard enough to hurt. "You will not make a scene and ruin my reputation in this town. We have an agreement. Your father has given his blessing. You will marry me in 3 weeks, and you will learn to be a proper, obedient wife. These foolish notions of equality will be trained out of you soon enough." "Let go of me," Olivia said, her voice deadly quiet. Or what? Richard's mask had completely fallen away now. You will run crying to your father. He wants this marriage as much as I do. My money will save his ranch from the debts he has accumulated. Without me, your family loses everything. So you will smile, you will put on that wedding dress, and you will say your vows like a good girl. What I say in private has no bearing on our arrangement. It is not an arrangement, Olivia said, wrenching her arm free. It is supposed to be a marriage. And I will not marry a man who has no respect for me. You do not have a choice, Richard said coldly. The contracts are signed. Your father has already spent half my money. If you back out now, he will be ruined, and everyone will know you are a fickle, unreliable woman. No decent man will ever want you. You will spend your life alone, caring for aging ranch hands and watching your family's land get sold piece by piece. Is that what you want? Olivia felt tears sting her eyes, but she refused to let them fall in front of him. I want to marry someone who loves me. Someone who sees me as a partner, not property. Richard laughed, a harsh, ugly sound. Then you will want forever. That fairy tale does not exist. Marriage is a business arrangement, nothing more. The sooner you accept that, the easier your life will be. Now go home. We will discuss this again when you are being rational. He turned and walked back toward the saloon, leaving Olivia standing alone in the alley as darkness fell over Wickenburg. She wrapped her arms around herself, feeling the weight of an impossible choice pressing down on her shoulders. Her father had not told her about the debts, about how desperate their financial situation had become. Richard was right about one thing: breaking the engagement would destroy her family's reputation and livelihood. But could she really bind herself to a man who despised her? Olivia walked slowly back to where her horse was tied, her mind spinning. The mare nickered softly in greeting, and Olivia pressed her face against the warm neck, breathing in the familiar smell of horse and leather. It grounded her, reminded her of who she was. She was not some fragile flower who needed a man's direction. She had been running parts of the ranch since she was 16. She could break horses, mend fences, manage accounts, and shoot better than most men in the territory. Miss Jane. She turned to find Logan Carter standing a respectful distance away, his hat in his hands. Mr. Carter, are you following me now? She tried to sound annoyed, but her voice came out tired instead. No, madam. Well, yes, but not in a sinister way. I was worried about you. I saw the expression on that man's face when he took you aside, and I wanted to make sure you were safe. I waited where I could see but not be seen. When he left you alone, I thought you might need someone to talk to, or at least someone to make sure you got home safely. You do not know me, Olivia repeated, but without heat. Why do you care? Logan stepped closer, his face earnest in the lamplight spilling from a nearby window. Because I have known men like Richard Blackthorne my whole life. My mother married one just like him. My father was charming in public and cruel behind closed doors. He treated her like property, just like your fiancé described. She never smiled, not really. She flinched at sudden movements and apologized for things that were not her fault. When she died, I think it was partially from relief. I was 15, and I swore I would never let another woman walk into that kind of trap if I could prevent it. The raw pain in his voice made Olivia's chest ache. I am sorry about your mother. I am sorry about your situation, Logan replied, but you have a choice she did not. You heard the truth before you married him. You can still walk away. It is not that simple. My family needs this marriage. Without Richard's money, we lose everything. Logan was quiet for a moment, studying her face. Forgive my boldness, Miss Jane, but is land and money worth your happiness? Worth your freedom? Worth spending every day with a man who will tear down your spirit piece by piece until you do not recognize yourself anymore? You speak as though there is an alternative. There is not. This is the reality of being a woman in 1878. We do not get to choose love. We do what is practical. That is not true, Logan said fiercely. My parents' marriage was hell, but I have seen real love too. I have seen partnerships where both people respect and value each other. It exists, Miss Jane. You should not settle for anything less. Easy for you to say. You are a man. You have freedom I will never have. Then take it, Logan said. Do not marry him. Find another way to save your ranch. Sell it if you have to. Start over somewhere new. Anything is better than a lifetime of misery with a man who sees you as livestock. Olivia wanted to argue, but she could not find the words. Everything Logan said resonated with a truth she felt in her bones. Life with Richard would be exactly as Logan described, a slow erosion of herself until nothing remained but an obedient shell. She had seen it happen to other women, had pitied them from a distance. She had never imagined it would be her fate. I do not know what to do, she whispered. Yes, you do, Logan said gently. You know exactly what to do. You are just scared to do it, and that is understandable. It is terrifying to choose uncertainty over security. But I am telling you right now, as someone who watched his mother die a little more each day in a loveless marriage, that man will never respect you, dear. He will only break you, and the world needs unbroken women like you. The words hung in the air between them, and Olivia felt something shift inside her chest. This stranger saw her more clearly than the man she had agreed to marry. Logan looked at her with respect and admiration, treated her as an equal rather than an inferior. In just 2 brief conversations, he had shown her more genuine care than Richard had in 3 months of courtship. I should go home, Olivia said. My father will worry. Let me ride with you, Logan offered. It is getting dark and the roads are not always safe. Olivia nodded, too emotionally exhausted to argue. They rode in comfortable silence through the cooling desert night, the stars brilliant overhead. Olivia was acutely aware of Logan's presence beside her, solid and reassuring. When they reached the boundary of her father's ranch, she pulled her horse to a stop. This is far enough. Thank you for seeing me home safely, Mr. Carter. Logan, please. And it was my honor, Miss Jane. I hope you will think carefully about what I said. You deserve happiness. What you describe, love, respect, partnership, I have never seen evidence that such things are possible. Not in the real world. Logan met her eyes, and even in the darkness she could see the intensity there. They are possible. I promise you they are. Do not give up on finding them just because you have not seen them yet. And what if I break the engagement and ruin my family? What if I spend my whole life alone, as Richard predicted? What if there is no happy ending waiting for me? Then at least you will be free, Logan said simply. And freedom, Miss Jane, is worth everything. Besides, you will not be alone. I can feel it. You cannot know that, maybe not, but I believe it. You are too remarkable to spend your life invisible and unappreciated. Olivia felt her throat tighten with unexpected emotion. You do not even know me, she said for the 3rd time, but now it sounded like a plea rather than a protest. Then let me know you, Logan said. I am not leaving Wickenburg for another week. Let me show you what it is like to be treated with respect. Let me prove that what you felt with Richard is not all there is. You do not have to decide anything right now. Just give yourself permission to see that other options exist. It was madness. She was engaged to another man. Her wedding was 3 weeks away. She should tell Logan to leave and never speak to her again. Instead, she heard herself say, "Where are you staying?" "The boarding house on 3rd Street. Meet me tomorrow afternoon at 2 by the old mission ruins north of town. Do not tell anyone." Logan's face broke into a genuine smile that transformed his entire appearance. "I will be there. Thank you, Olivia." The The sound of her name on his lips, without the formal Miss Jane, felt intimate and right. She turned her horse toward home before she could say anything else that might be dangerous or foolish or wonderful. Her father was waiting on the porch when she arrived, his weathered face creased with worry. James Jane was 55, gray-haired and tired from years of fighting the harsh Arizona landscape to keep his ranch running. He had been a good father, loving and fair, but the past few years had aged him considerably. "You are late," he said as Olivia dismounted. "Richard sent word that you were upset. He said you had some kind of disagreement." "We did," Olivia said, tying her horse and climbing the porch steps. "Father, I need to talk to you about this marriage." James's expression closed off. Richard already explained. "You overheard some crude talk between men and took it out of context. He said you would understand once you calmed down." "He told you." Olivia felt her anger reignite. "And you believe his version?" "I believe you are nervous about the wedding and looking for reasons to back out. It is natural. Your mother was the same way before we married." "This is not cold feet, Father. Richard said terrible things about women, about me specifically. He does not respect me. He sees me as property he is purchasing, and he plans to break my spirit once we are married." James sighed heavily. "Olivia, marriage is not about romance and respect. It is about security and partnership. Richard is a good match. He will provide for you, and his money will save this ranch. That is what matters. What about love? What about being valued as a person? Love comes later if it comes at all. Right now, we need to be practical. I owe Richard $30,000, Olivia. $30,000. I borrowed it to buy new breeding stock and improve the property, thinking it would pay off quickly. It has not. If you do not marry him, he will call in the debt immediately, and we will lose everything. This ranch has been in our family for 3 generations. Your grandfather built it from nothing. Are you willing to throw that away because your feelings are hurt?" The weight of it crushed down on Olivia's chest. $30,000. An impossible sum. Her father's lined face looked even older in the lamplight, and she understood suddenly how much this was costing him too. He was not selling her off out of cruelty, but out of desperation. "Why did you not tell me how bad things were?" "Because it was my burden to carry, not yours. But Richard's investment will solve everything. We can keep the ranch, expand the herd, and secure our future. All you have to do is marry him and learn to be content." Many women live perfectly acceptable lives in marriages of convenience. "Acceptable is not enough, Father. I want more than acceptable." "Then you are asking for fairy tales, and I raised you to be smarter than that. Life is hard, especially out here. You do what you must to survive." "Your mother understood that." "Did Mother love you?" James looked taken aback. "Yes, in her way. We had a good marriage. She never complained." "Because she did not complain does not mean she was happy. She was content, and that was enough. It will be enough for you too once you accept it. Now go to bed. Things will look clearer in the morning." Olivia went to her room, but she did not sleep. She lay awake staring at the ceiling, her mind churning with impossible choices. She thought about her mother, who had died of pneumonia 2 winters ago. Had she been content, as her father claimed? Or had she been quietly miserable, making the best of a practical arrangement? Olivia realized with a pang that she did not know. She had never thought to ask. She thought about Richard, about the cold calculation in his eyes when his mask slipped. About the ugly things he had said in the saloon, words that revealed his true character. Could she really spend her life with a man like that? Could she bear his children, manage his household, and pretend to be grateful for the prison he would construct around her? And she thought about Logan Carter, a stranger who had shown her more kindness in 2 conversations than Richard had in 3 months. Logan, who spoke of respect and partnership as though they were not just possible but necessary. Logan, who looked at her and saw a person worth defending. It was insanity to throw away security for someone she barely knew. It was impractical, irresponsible, and exactly the kind of romantic foolishness her father warned against. But when dawn broke over the desert, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink, Olivia knew what she was going to do. She could not marry Richard. No matter the cost, no matter the consequences, she could not bind herself to a man who despised her. She would find another way to save the ranch, or she would let it go. Her freedom was worth more than land and money. The decision terrified her, but it also felt right in a way nothing had in months. She dressed carefully, choosing a simple riding dress in deep blue that brought out her eyes. She told her father she was going to check on the cattle in the north pasture, a routine task that would not raise suspicion. He was in his study, poring over account books, and barely looked up when she said goodbye. The ride to the old mission ruins took 40 minutes. The abandoned building stood alone in the desert landscape, its adobe walls crumbling back into the earth. It had been built by Spanish missionaries over 100 years ago and abandoned for half that time. Now it served as a landmark and occasional shelter for travelers. Logan was already there, sitting on a fallen beam in the shade. He stood when he saw her approach, and the smile that lit his face made Olivia's heart skip in a way Richard's presence never had. "You came," he said, helping her dismount. "I said I would. I was not sure you would. I thought maybe in the daylight, meeting a strange cowboy in the middle of nowhere would seem like a bad idea." "It probably is a bad idea," Olivia admitted. "But I have been making good, sensible decisions my whole life, and they have led me to agreeing to marry a man who sees me as livestock. Maybe it is time I made some bad decisions." Logan laughed, a warm, genuine sound. "I promise to make this particular bad decision as pleasant as possible. Are you hungry? I brought lunch." He had packed bread, cheese, dried fruit, and a canteen of cool water. They sat in the shade of the mission walls and ate, talking easily about everything and nothing. Logan told her about growing up in Texas, about learning to work cattle from his grandfather, about the places he had seen during his travels. He spoke of Montana's mountains, California's coast, and the endless prairie of Kansas. Olivia told him about the ranch, about learning to ride before she could read, about her mother's death and her father's increasing worry over money. She found herself sharing things she had never told anyone, thoughts and dreams she had kept hidden because they did not fit what was expected of her. "I always wanted to travel," she admitted, "to see places beyond Wickenburg, but women do not just pack up and go exploring. We are supposed to stay home, be safe, be proper." "Says who?" Logan challenged. "I have met women traveling alone, running businesses, even prospecting for gold. The West is still wild enough that people can make their own rules if they are brave enough. And if they have money enough. Travel requires resources I do not have. It requires less than you think. A good horse, basic supplies, and the courage to take the first step. Everything else figures itself out." They talked through the afternoon, and Olivia felt something unfurling inside her chest, something that had been tightly wound for so long she had forgotten it was there. Hope, maybe, or possibility. Logan listened when she spoke, asked thoughtful questions, and treated her opinions as valuable rather than amusing. When he looked at her, she felt seen in a way she never had before. As the sun began its descent toward the horizon, Logan stood and offered his hand. "Walk with me." They wandered through the mission ruins, their shoulders occasionally brushing, the silence between them comfortable rather than awkward. Finally, Logan stopped and turned to face her. "I need to be honest with you about something, Olivia. I am not good at pretending or playing games. Yesterday I told you to leave Richard and find happiness, and I meant it. But I was not being entirely selfless. The truth is, from the moment I saw you in town, even before I knew anything about you, I felt something I have not felt before. Then I heard Richard talking, heard the contempt in his voice, and I wanted to punch him. Not because he was being crude in general, but because he was talking about you that way, about someone who deserves so much better. Olivia's heart pounded in her chest. Logan, we barely know each other. I know. And I am not asking for anything you are not ready to give. But I am not leaving Wickenburg for another week, and I want to spend that time with you. I want to show you what it could be like with someone who sees your worth. Maybe nothing comes of it. Maybe I ride off to California and you find someone else who deserves you, but maybe we have something real here, something worth exploring. Do you feel it too? Olivia looked into his gray eyes and saw nothing but honesty and hope. Yes, she whispered, I feel it, but my wedding is in 3 weeks. My father's ranch depends on my marriage to Richard. I cannot just walk away. Why not? Because 30,000 people do not just disappear, because my family will lose everything, because I have responsibilities. Logan took her hands gently in his. What if there was another way? What if I could help? You are a cowboy, Logan. I do not mean that disrespectfully, but you do not have $30,000. No, I do not. But I know people who might be willing to help. I have a friend in California who made a fortune in mining. He owes me a favor, a big one. What if I could arrange a loan for your father, one with reasonable terms and no marriage required? Olivia stared at him. Why would you do that? Why would you help people you do not even know? Because I care about you. Because no one should have to marry someone who does not respect them. Because I believe some things are worth fighting for and your happiness is one of them. This is insane. You are talking about leaving for California, asking a friend for an enormous sum of money, all for a woman you met yesterday. Yes, Logan said simply. That is exactly what I am talking about. Tell me you will break your engagement. Tell me you will wait for me while I go to California and arrange this loan. Tell me you believe this could be real. Olivia felt tears streaming down her face, though she was not sure if they were from fear or hope or overwhelming emotion. And if your friend says no, if you cannot get the money, then we will find another way. We will sell the ranch and start over somewhere new. You and your father can come with me to California. There are opportunities there. It would not be easy, but it would be better than a lifetime of misery. You are offering to upend your entire life for me. Why? Logan stepped closer, so close she could feel the warmth radiating from his body. Because in 2 days, you have become more important to me than anything else. Because when I look at you, I see my future, and it is beautiful. Because I am falling in love with you, Olivia Jane, and I cannot stand by and watch you marry someone else without at least trying to give you another option. You cannot love me. We barely know each other. Maybe love takes time for some people, but I know what I feel and I know it is real. I am not asking you to love me back right now. I am just asking you to give us a chance. Olivia closed her eyes, feeling the weight of this moment. Everything in her life had led to this choice, to this fork in the road where she could choose security or possibility. Richard's contempt or Logan's respect, a life of quiet desperation or uncertain hope. I am scared, she admitted. I know, so am I, but being scared is not a reason to choose wrong. Olivia opened her eyes and looked at Logan, really looked at him. She saw strength and kindness, honesty and courage. She saw someone who valued her as an equal, who wanted her happiness even if it cost him everything. She thought about Richard, about the cold calculation in his eyes, the possessive grip on her arm, the ugly words that revealed his true nature. Okay, she said, I will break my engagement. I will tell Richard and my father tonight, and I will wait for you to come back from California." Logan's face transformed with joy and relief. "You mean it?" "I mean it. I do not know if we have a future together, Logan. It is too soon to know that. But I know I cannot marry Richard, and I know you have shown me that there is another way to live. That is enough for now." Logan pulled her into his arms, and she went willingly, resting her head against his chest and listening to the strong, steady beat of his heart. They stood like that as the sun set, painting the desert in shades of orange and red, two people taking a leap of faith into an uncertain future. "I should go," Olivia finally said. "I need to talk to my father before Richard comes by for dinner." "Do you want me to come with you? For support?" "No, this is something I need to do myself, but thank you for offering." "When do I leave for California?" "Tomorrow morning, if you can. The sooner you go, the sooner you can return, and the sooner we know if this is even possible." Logan nodded. "I will leave at dawn." "It is a hard ride, about 10 days if I push. 2 weeks at most. Can you hold out that long?" "I will have to. Richard will not accept my decision easily, and my father will fight me on it, but my mind is made up." They rode back toward town together, parting ways before anyone could see them. Olivia continued home alone, her mind churning with the words she would need to say. The sun had fully set by the time she reached the ranch, and she could see Richard's horse tied out front. He had come early, probably to make sure she had not done anything foolish. She found them in the parlor, her father and Richard sharing whiskey and discussing business as though nothing was wrong. They both looked up when she entered. "Olivia, there you are," her father said. "Richard was worried about you." "Was he?" Olivia said coolly. "How considerate." Richard stood, his expression carefully arranged into concern. "My dear, I wanted to apologize for yesterday. I spoke carelessly and I hurt you. It was not my intention." "No, your intention was for me never to hear those words, but I did hear them, Richard, and they revealed your true character. Which is why I cannot marry you." The room went very still. James set his glass down with a sharp click. "Olivia, do not be hasty." "I am not being hasty. I am being honest. I cannot marry a man who does not respect me, who sees me as property to be controlled and broken. The wedding is off." Richard's mask slipped and cold fury flickered across his face before he controlled it. "You are upset and not thinking clearly. We can discuss this privately." "No, there is nothing to discuss. The engagement is over." "Olivia Jane," her father said, his voice hard. "You know what this means for the ranch, for our family." "I know, father, and I am sorry, but I will not sacrifice my entire life to save land and buildings. There has to be another way." "There is no other way," Richard said, and now the charm was completely gone. "Your father owes me $30,000. That debt is due in 6 weeks. Without our marriage, I will demand immediate payment. He cannot pay, so I will take the ranch as collateral. Everything your family has built will become mine. Is that what you want? You would do that?" Olivia stared at him. "You would deliberately destroy my family out of spite. I would collect on a legitimate debt. Business is business, Olivia. You should have thought about the consequences before breaking our agreement. Our agreement was based on false pretenses. You presented yourself as honorable and kind. You are neither of those things." Richard stepped toward her, and there was something dangerous in his expression. "You will regret this. No one makes a fool of me. You will marry me, or I will make sure your father loses everything. You will spend the rest of your life knowing you destroyed your family because of foolish pride." "Get out," Olivia said, her voice shaking but firm. "Get out of my house." "This will not be your house much longer," Richard said. He turned to James. "You have 6 weeks to come up with $30,000, or the ranch is mine. And do not think you can find another buyer. I have made sure every bank and investor in the territory knows about your debts. No one will touch you." He grabbed his hat and strode out, slamming the door behind him. Silence filled the parlor. James looked at his daughter with a mixture of anger, disappointment, and resignation. "I hope you are happy. You have just destroyed everything I worked for." "Father, please, there might be another way. I have someone looking into a loan, better terms than Richard offered." "Someone? Who? What fantasy are you living in, Olivia?" "A friend. He has connections in California, people with money who might be willing to help." "A friend," James repeated bitterly. "And how did you meet this friend? Have you been sneaking around behind Richard's back?" "No, I just met him, but he is honest and kind and he is trying to help us. A stranger is going to loan us $30,000 out of the goodness of his heart. Do you hear how that sounds? You have thrown away our only real option for a pipe dream." "Richard was not a real option, Father. He was a nightmare disguised as salvation. You did not hear how he talked about me, about women in general. He would have made my life hell. And now you have made all our lives hell. I hope your principles keep you warm when we are living in a boarding house in town." James walked out, leaving Olivia alone in the parlor. She sank into a chair, her hands shaking. She had done it. She had broken the engagement and probably destroyed her family's future in the process. If Logan could not secure that loan, they would lose everything. But even knowing that, even facing the possibility of ruin, she could not regret her choice. Life with Richard would have been a different kind of ruin, slower but just as complete. She just had to believe that Logan would come through, that in 10 days or 2 weeks he would ride back into Wickenburg with a solution that would save them all. It was a lot to ask of a man she barely knew, but it was all the hope she had. The next few days passed in tense silence. James barely spoke to Olivia, conducting ranch business with a grim efficiency that broke her heart. Word of the broken engagement spread through town quickly, and people looked at Olivia with a mixture of pity and disapproval. A woman who broke her word, who threw away a good match, was not to be trusted. Richard made sure to fuel the gossip, playing the role of wounded suitor with practiced skill. He let people believe Olivia had gotten cold feet, that she was a flighty, unreliable girl who did not appreciate how good she had it. He never mentioned his debts or the loan that would soon come due. Olivia endured it all with her head high, even as she counted the days until Logan would return. 1 day passed, then 2, then 5. She tried to stay busy with ranch work, but everywhere she looked she saw evidence of what they might lose: the barn her grandfather had built, the house where she had grown up, the land that had been in her family for generations. On the 8th day, a telegram arrived from California. Olivia's hands shook as she opened it. "Loan secured. Arriving in 4 days. Have faith. LC." Relief flooded through her so powerfully she had to sit down. He had done it. Logan had actually managed to convince someone to loan them the money. They were going to be okay. She showed the telegram to her father, who read it with a skeptical expression. "This friend of yours secured a loan of $30,000. He did. What are the terms, the interest rate, the repayment schedule? I do not know yet. Logan will have all the details when he arrives. And you trust this man you barely know to negotiate a fair deal." "I trust him more than I trusted Richard," James sighed. "I hope you are right, because if this falls through, we have no backup plan." "It will not fall through," Olivia said with more confidence than she felt. "Logan gave me his word." The next 4 days crawled by with agonizing slowness. Olivia found herself watching the road constantly, waiting for the sight of a lone rider approaching. Richard came by the ranch twice, trying to convince James to pressure Olivia into reconsidering. Both times, James refused, though Olivia could see the temptation in his eyes. The easy solution was right there, requiring only that she sacrifice her happiness. But her father, for all his practicality, was not cruel enough to force her into it. He just looked tired and sad, worn down by circumstances beyond his control. On the 12th day after Logan had left, Olivia was working in the barn when she heard hoofbeats. She ran outside and saw him riding up the path, dusty and exhausted but with a smile on his face that made her heart soar. She did not think. She just ran to meet him, and when he dismounted, she threw her arms around him. Logan held her tightly, his face buried in her hair. "I did it," he said. "I got the money." "I knew you would," Olivia said, though she had been terrified he would not. "Where is your father? I need to speak with him." James had emerged from the house, watching this display with a complicated expression. Logan released Olivia and approached him respectfully, offering his hand. "Mr. Jane, my name is Logan Carter. I am the one who secured the loan for your ranch." James shook his hand warily. "Come inside. We need to discuss terms." They spent 2 hours in James's study, going over paperwork and details. Logan's friend, a man named Samuel who had struck gold in the California hills, had agreed to loan them $35,000 at a reasonable interest rate, with 5 years to pay it back. It was generous beyond anything they could have hoped for. "Why would a stranger do this?" James asked, echoing Olivia's earlier question. "Because I asked him to, and he owed me a favor. I once helped him when his claim was being jumped by some aggressive miners. He has more money than he knows what to do with, and he saw this as a good investment." "And what do you get out of this arrangement, Mr. Carter?" Logan glanced at Olivia, who was standing in the doorway. "Permission to court your daughter, sir, with your blessing and hers." James looked between them, understanding dawning on his face. "You did all this so you could pursue Olivia." "I did this so Olivia would not have to marry a man who would make her miserable. Whether she chooses to be with me or not is entirely up to her. But yes, I am hoping for a chance to prove myself worthy of her." "You traveled to California and back, secured $35,000 from a friend, all for a woman you barely know." "Yes, sir." James was quiet for a long moment. "You must think me a terrible father. Selling my daughter to save my ranch. I think you were in an impossible situation and trying to do what you thought was best for your family. Richard would have been a disaster for her, would he not?" "Yes, sir, I believe he would have been." James nodded slowly. "Then I suppose I owe you thanks, for seeing what I should have seen, and for caring enough about my daughter's happiness to risk so much for it." He looked at Olivia. "Do you want to be courted by this man?" "Yes, father, I do." "Then you have my blessing." "But," he fixed Logan with a stern look, "you hurt her, and I do not care how much money you brought or how many friends you have in California. I will make you regret it." "Understood, sir, and I promise I have no intention of ever hurting her." The loan paperwork was finalized the next day. Richard showed up at the bank demanding to know what was happening, but it was too late. The original debt was paid in full, and he had no leverage left. He left Wickenburg 2 days later, still nursing his wounded pride and making vague threats that everyone ignored. With the crisis resolved, Olivia and Logan were free to explore what existed between them. He extended his stay in Wickenburg indefinitely, taking work at a nearby ranch so he could be close. They spent every spare moment together, riding through the desert, talking for hours, learning everything about each other. Logan was patient and kind, never pushing for more than Olivia was ready to give. He met her as an equal in every way, asking her opinions, respecting her knowledge, and treating her as a partner rather than a possession. With him, Olivia felt like she could breathe fully for the first time in her life. 2 months after they met, Logan took her back to the old mission ruins where they had first talked. They walked through the crumbling adobe walls as the sun set, painting the sky in brilliant colors. "I have something to ask you," Logan said, stopping in the same spot where he had first confessed his feelings. Olivia's heart raced. "What is it?" "I know we have not known each other long. By traditional standards, this is much too fast. But I have learned that life is short and unpredictable, and when you find something real, you should hold on to it. I love you, Olivia Jane. I love your strength and your intelligence. I love how you face the world with courage even when you are scared. I love talking with you, riding with you, and imagining a future with you. I want to spend my life treating you the way you deserve to be treated, as an equal partner in everything. Will you marry me?" Tears streamed down Olivia's face, but they were tears of joy. "Yes, yes, I will marry you." Logan pulled a simple gold ring from his pocket, a delicate band with a small turquoise stone. "It is not fancy, but turquoise is supposed to bring good fortune and protection. I want you to have both." "It is perfect," Olivia said as he slipped it onto her finger. "You are perfect." "I am far from perfect, but I promise to love and respect you every day for the rest of my life." They were married 6 weeks later in a small ceremony at the ranch, with just family and close friends in attendance. James walked Olivia down the makeshift aisle they had created in the yard, his face showing both sadness at losing his daughter and happiness that she had found real love. The contrast between this wedding and the one that had almost been could not have been starker. Where Richard had planned an elaborate social event designed to show off his wealth and status, Logan wanted only the simple exchange of vows that would bind them together. Where Richard had seen marriage as a business transaction, Logan saw it as a partnership built on love and mutual respect. As they said their vows under the Arizona sky, Olivia thought about how close she had come to a completely different life. If she had not overheard Richard in the saloon, if Logan had not spoken up, if she had not been brave enough to break her engagement and risk everything for a chance at happiness, she would be standing here with the wrong man, beginning a slow descent into misery. Instead, she was marrying someone who saw her, valued her, and loved her exactly as she was. The first year of their marriage was not without challenges. Integrating Logan into the ranch operations required adjustments from everyone. Some of the older hands were skeptical of this newcomer, this cowboy who had swept in and married the boss's daughter. But Logan won them over with his skills, his willingness to work hard, and his obvious devotion to Olivia. James and Logan developed a strong working relationship built on mutual respect. James taught Logan the specific challenges of running a cattle ranch in Arizona territory, and Logan brought fresh ideas and perspectives from his travels. Together, they expanded the operation, paying down the loan ahead of schedule. But the best part, the part that made everything worthwhile, was the life Olivia and Logan built together. They were true partners in every sense, discussing decisions together, respecting each other's opinions, and supporting each other through difficulties. Logan never tried to control or diminish her. Instead, he encouraged her to pursue her interests and develop her skills. When Olivia expressed interest in learning more about horse breeding, Logan helped her research bloodlines and training techniques. When she wanted to start a small business selling herbs and remedies she made from desert plants, he supported her completely, even building her a workroom where she could pursue this passion. And when Olivia discovered she was pregnant 18 months into their marriage, Logan's joy was matched only by his fierce protectiveness. He fussed over her, worried constantly, and drove her slightly crazy with his hovering, but it all came from a place of deep love. Their first child was born in the spring of 1880, a healthy boy with his father's gray eyes and his mother's auburn hair. They named him James Logan Carter, after both grandfathers. Holding her son for the first time, Olivia thought about the kind of man she hoped he would become. She hoped he would have his father's respect for women, his grandmother's strength, and his grandfather's work ethic. But most of all, she hoped he would understand that love and respect were not optional in a relationship. They were the foundation on which everything else was built. James, the elder, was besotted with his grandson. The baby brought new life to the ranch, new hope for the future. James recovered some of the joy he had lost when his wife died, and he and Logan grew even closer as they discussed the legacy they were building for the next generation. 2 years later, Olivia gave birth to a daughter they named Rose, after Logan's mother who had not lived to see happiness. This baby had Olivia's green eyes and Logan's smile, and she was fierce from the moment she entered the world. Where James was quiet and contemplative, Rose was loud and demanding, and Olivia loved them both with an intensity that sometimes frightened her. Life was not perfect. The ranch still faced challenges from drought, disease, and market fluctuations. There were hard years and lean times. Olivia and Logan had arguments like any couple, disagreements about how to handle problems or raise their children. But they always came back to respect and love, always worked through their differences instead of letting resentment build. And every so often, when Olivia was feeling grateful or contemplative, she would think back to that September night in 1878 when she overheard Richard talking in the saloon. She thought about the cowboy who had followed her out into the street, who had cared enough about a stranger to speak up, who had looked at her and seen someone worth saving. "That man will never respect you, dear," Logan had said about Richard, and he had been absolutely right. But in warning her away from one man, he had shown her what respect looked like. He had shown her that partnership and equality were possible, that love could be built on a foundation of mutual admiration and support. 5 years into their marriage, on a warm evening in late summer, Olivia and Logan sat on their porch watching James and Rose play in the yard. Their son was trying to teach his sister to throw a rope, though at 3 she was more interested in chasing chickens. Logan's arm was around Olivia's shoulders, and she leaned into his warmth, feeling completely content. "You ever regret it?" Logan asked quietly. "Walking away from security, taking such a big risk on someone you barely knew?" Olivia turned to look at him, this man who had changed her entire life. "Never. Not once. You saved me, Logan. You showed me that I deserved better, and then you spent every day since proving that better was possible. How could I ever regret that?" "I was terrified," Logan admitted. "Riding to California, asking Samuel for that loan, I kept thinking, what if I fail? What if I cannot help her? What if she marries Richard while I am gone? But you did not fail. You came through exactly when I needed you most." "We came through for each other," Logan corrected. "You were brave enough to break that engagement, to stand up to Richard and your father, to risk everything for a chance at real happiness. That takes courage I am not sure I would have had. You rode to California and back in record time to save a woman you had known for 2 days. I think you have plenty of courage." Logan laughed and pulled her closer. "We make a good team, do we not?" "The best team," Olivia agreed. She watched her children playing, thought about the ranch that was thriving, about the life they had built together. "Do you ever think about where we would be if you had not spoken up that night? If you had just stayed in the saloon or ridden on to California without getting involved?" "All the time," Logan said seriously. "And it terrifies me. You would have married him. He would have broken your spirit piece by piece. The light that I love so much in you would have been extinguished, and I would have spent my whole life wondering about the remarkable woman I met in Wickenburg, the one who got away. Fate brought us together. Maybe." Or maybe we chose each other, and that is even better. Fate might have put us in the same place at the same time, but we did the hard work. You trusted me when you had no reason to. I fought for you when I could have walked away. We both chose this, Olivia. Every day we keep choosing it." He was right. Love was not just a feeling that happened to you. It was a choice you made every single day, a commitment to respect and value another person even when it was difficult or inconvenient. Richard had never understood that. He saw marriage as ownership, as control. But Logan understood that real love meant building something together, creating a partnership where both people could thrive. As the sun set over the Arizona desert, painting the sky in the familiar oranges and reds that Olivia loved, she felt overwhelmingly grateful for the path her life had taken. Yes, she had almost made a terrible mistake. Yes, she had nearly thrown away her happiness for financial security and social approval. But she had been given a second chance, and she had been brave enough to take it. And it had led her here, to this porch, with this man, watching their children play in the yard of a ranch that would one day be theirs. It was everything she had ever wanted, even though she had not known to want it until Logan showed her it was possible. "I love you," she said, turning to kiss him softly. "I love you too," Logan replied. "Every single day I love you more." Inside the house, Olivia could hear her father moving around, probably preparing dinner. He had mellowed significantly in the years since her wedding, his relationship with Logan transforming from wary acceptance to genuine affection. He often said that Logan was the son he had never had, and watching them work together brought Olivia profound joy. James Jr. came running up to the porch, his face flushed with excitement. "Mama, Papa, look. Rose roped a chicken." Sure enough, little Rose had somehow managed to get the rope around one of the hens and was dragging the squawking bird across the yard with obvious pride. Logan jumped up to rescue the chicken before Rose could do any real damage, and Olivia followed, laughing at her daughter's determination. This was life. Not perfect, not always easy, but filled with love and laughter and moments of pure joy. This was what she had been willing to risk everything for, and it had been worth it. That night, after the children were asleep and the house was quiet, Olivia sat at her desk writing in the journal she had kept since her mother's death. She documented the day's events, the small triumphs and challenges that made up their life. But she also reflected on the larger journey, the path that had led her from a disastrous engagement to a marriage built on mutual respect and love. She thought about other women who might be facing similar choices, who might be pressured into marriages with men who did not value them. She thought about how easy it was to convince yourself that security mattered more than happiness, that you could learn to be content with less than you deserved. And she wrote, hoping that someday her daughter would read these words and understand that she had options, that she should never settle for someone who did not respect her completely. "Rose, my darling girl," she wrote, "if you ever find yourself engaged to someone who makes you feel small, who talks about you with contempt, who sees you as property rather than a partner, run. Run as fast as you can, no matter the cost. Because your freedom, your dignity, and your happiness are worth more than all the security in the world. Wait for someone who sees you, really sees you, and loves what they see. Wait for someone who treats you as an equal, who respects your mind as much as your beauty, who wants to build a life with you rather than construct a cage around you. That person exists, I promise. I found him, and he gave me everything I did not know I needed." She set down her pen, satisfied. The journal would be there for Rose when she was old enough to understand, a testament to the importance of choosing love and respect over convenience and security. Logan appeared in the doorway, watching her with the soft expression he always had when he looked at her. "Coming to bed," Yes, Olivia said, closing the journal and standing. She went to him and he wrapped his arms around her waist, pulling her close. What were you writing about? About how lucky I am. About how you saved me from making the biggest mistake of my life. We saved each other, Logan said, repeating his earlier sentiment. You showed me what real courage looks like. You taught me that taking risks for the right person is always worth it. They walked together to their bedroom, hand in hand, the way they did everything. Partners in the truest sense of the word, equals in every way that mattered. And as Olivia drifted off to sleep that night, warm and safe in Logan's arms, she sent up a silent prayer of thanks. Thanks for the courage to walk away from Richard. Thanks for Logan's intervention at exactly the right moment. Thanks for the life they had built together, full of love and respect and genuine partnership. She had been given a second chance, and she had seized it with both hands. Not every woman was so lucky. But Olivia was determined to live her life in a way that honored that gift, to show her children what real love looked like, and to never take for granted the man who had seen her worth when she had almost forgotten it herself. The ranch continued to prosper over the following years. The loan was paid off in full by 1885, ahead of schedule. James the Elder passed away peacefully in his sleep in 1887, leaving the ranch entirely to Olivia and Logan with the confidence that it was in good hands. His last words to Logan were, "You did right by my girl. Thank you for that." They expanded the operation, added new buildings, and became one of the most successful ranches in the territory. But more important than the financial success was the family they raised. James grew into a thoughtful young man with his father's integrity and his mother's intelligence. Rose became a fierce advocate for women's rights, inspired by her parents' equal partnership. They had 2 more children, twin boys born in 1886, who added chaos and laughter to the household. Through it all, Olivia and Logan remained each other's best friend, strongest supporter, and greatest love. They never forgot what they had almost lost, and they never took each other for granted. Every anniversary, they returned to the old mission ruins and renewed their commitment to each other, remembering the day when they had both been brave enough to choose possibility over security. And sometimes, when Olivia was working in the kitchen or managing ranch accounts, she would catch Logan watching her with that same expression of wonder and love he had worn on their wedding day. In those moments, she would remember the cowboy who had overheard how her betrothed talked about women, who had looked at her with respect and said, "That man will never respect you, dear." He had been right. Richard would never have respected her, would never have valued her, would never have built a true partnership with her. But Logan did all those things and more, every single day for the rest of their lives together. It was not the safe choice or the sensible choice. It was the right choice, and that made all the difference.